There's never been a team to go back-to-back in the Southwestern Athletic Conference since the inception of the conference championship, and such was the case again this year as Alcorn State knocks off Southern University to end the reign of Jaguar Nation at the top of the SWAC. Along with Devin Wade, I am Mark Gray. Devin from KTSU, thanks for holding it down with us for the 2014 Toyota SWAC Championship in a game where clearly the best overall team in the conference reigned supreme, and what we saw today was the personification of Alcorn State as the best beating the best.
No question about it. Those two teams met September 27th. There was a drubbing at the hands of Alcorn State, 56-16. In many ways, we saw an extension of that, at least statistically. Now, what kept Southern in this game were outstanding special teams, but outside of that, we saw an extension of just what we saw in September, and it's a really dominant performance and a dominant season for a team that averaged almost 45 points per game.
This is a team that was in the top 5 in 3 statistical categories throughout the course of the season in overall FCS play, so it's not shocking that they were able to get here. But when you look at Alcorn State, clearly defined by one of the most underrated quarterbacks nationally in John GIBBS. I mean, he did the proverbial double-double, over 100 yards passing, 100 yards rushing the football, and it was his playing personality at the start of this game that truly got them going and was enough for them to ride the crest of to this championship.
No question about it. He's not a blazing fast guy, and yet he was able to get those yards. He's tough to bring down, 6'6", 220, and then you cannot say enough about that offensive front. Gave him protection all day long, gave him the lanes that he needed to run through, and just he was the straw that stirred the drink for that Alcorn Braves team and their championship team all the way through.
And a lot of people have been using the comparisons to the late Steve McNair, and while McNair might have been a more accomplished passer and a better overall athlete, when it comes to making winning plays and doing what he needs to do to galvanize a team, I don't think you can say less for Mac that the best quarterback perhaps in the history of that school was right. John GIBBS, certainly for the last 2 years.
Oh, no question about it. And again, he comes home to win a championship. He's a Houston native. He got away from Texas Southern, but nonetheless, a great performance by him. And then, hey, he'll be back to do his thing. But on the other side, Southern has youth at quarterback, and you can't say a lot of bad things about Austin Howard.
No, you can't. Austin Howard couldn't find the same magic from last week in the Bayou Classic because of a great defensive performance, and his future is clearly ahead of him. But can he solve the riddle of Alcorn State? Southern leads Jackson State in the all-time series. They lead Grambling State in the all-time series. Just about every team in the conference, Southern has a winning record on the side of the ledger with the exception of Alcorn State. So I think it would be safe to say that the Spinks jinx from down there in that little desolate place in Mississippi certainly is hovering over Jaguar Nation.
No question. You had an offensive front, nobody under 300 pounds, and they just leaned and asserted themselves and were dominant all afternoon long. And it really, like I said, outside of that special teams where they scored 14, the offense scored 10, outside of that, it was just a total dominant performance by the Braves.
And after a difficult 2013 season that was defined by the nonsense, for lack of a better term, that was going on at Grambling, to see Grambling return as a viable brand, to see Southern get back here to defend their championships. The Louisiana programs are so important to the solvency of the SWAC. As a SWAC guy, what does it mean to have them back?
Well, I mean, obviously, I want the Texas Southern Tigers to be back, and we're on our way. But it also is always good for your signature programs in the conference. I mean, let's face it, in the SWAC, the biggest event year in and year out is not even a championship. It's still the Bayou Classic, NBC coverage. You have to have those teams healthy and happy, and you have to fill the stands. So you're good. From that standpoint, you want to see those teams be good. And then so be good enough so we can beat them.
And then over the shoulder right here, what you don't see at most championship games is Frankie Beverly and Mays doing their thing. And I'm of the opinion that the conference championships are the model that HBCUs need to follow. I know there are a lot of people that would say we want to compete against the best in the FCS, but most of the times, and I'll use Towson State as an example, who actually lost money on their run to the national championship game a couple of years ago, doesn't make sense for our schools, which are struggling right now, to try to play for an FCS title when you got an opportunity to generate your own revenue and to chart a new course. And to play in a pro facility like this, it certainly is a carrot that you can use as a recruiting tool to get elite level players to come to your institution.
I mean, we've seen that for decades now with the classics. I think the SWAC has come up with the model, and it started years ago with Grambling State and Southern coming up the Bayou Classic, but that's the model. Our events are big enough that we don't need outside validation. We can fill the stands as long as we continue to support our own, and we see, and even with Commissioner Dewar Sharp, he's trying to make this more than just a game, but an event, and they're doing a fabulous job. Celebrities all over the place. It's an event-packed week full of festivities, and then even more festivities for the SWAC basketball tournament. So I think the model is in place. We just have to continue to have the community come out, and I think the city of Houston has totally embraced the SWAC, and I think this is their home for the foreseeable future.
Well, you can only hope that Houston does work out to keep the SWAC championships here, because you can make the compelling argument right now that the epicenter of the SWAC universe clearly is Houston, Texas. We were here last year when Southern won the football title. We were here for Texas Southern winning the men's basketball crown and Prairie View winning the women's crown. And now we're back again as Alcorn brings the title back to Mississippi with their heart-stopping victory over Southern University for the first time they get to the show and the first time they win it. And we can only look to get back to Houston. Yo, I was able to finagle 2 trips to Houston on the company dime. Hey, you think I might be able to pull off the trifecta?
I think so. You a man that makes things happen.
We definitely going to try to do that. So that's the story from here in Houston. It is the year of the Braves and the SWAC. Alcorn State, the 2014 Southwestern Athletic Conference football champions. Congratulations. Laurel and Hardy won to Jay Hobson, John Gibbs, and everybody down there in that beautiful part of Mississippi. It's your title. Who knew that one day the Eddie Robinson Trophy would land itself back to the place that is the home of the Sphinx Jinx and the great Marino Castle. So for Devin Wade, I'm Mark Gray saying so long. We tie a bow on the football season here in the SWAC. We look to do it again in 2015, and we'll see you on down the road for basketball season on HSRN, which concludes here in Houston, I might add, with the SWAC Basketball Championship on the Voice of Choice.
Stand up!